What's up, family, and welcome back to the 224 podcast. This is Jay. We got another topic, another video for y'all, and this one is I'm a little torn on this one. I'm a little torn between the two sides on this one. So if you don't know, got a couple of prominent rappers like Jay-Z, Meek Mill, Fat Joe, and others trying to help push legislation in New York that would prohibit law enforcement and the legal system from using rappers' lyrics against them in court. And the reason why this legislation was introduced is because there's always been a biased and discriminatory history against hip-hop artists in regards to law enforcement, more so than you see with rock artists or country music artists. And the content of hip hop music is supposed to just be an artistic expression of that artist's viewpoint of where they're from and what they see. But a lot of times, cops, lawyers, judges, they don't see the shit that way. They see it as that's what they rapping about. That's what's really happening. Let's use that shit against them in court. So that's what birthed this legislation that has been created, and that's why you got a couple rappers trying to get behind it. Makes sense, right? But in order for us to move forward, we got to really understand the two sides. We got to understand hip-hop, and we got to understand the cops before we move on and get into the meat and potatoes of the legislation and what, the hip-hop artists, rappers are saying and why they're getting behind it. So let's start with hip-hop and where hip-hop started and how it got to this point today. Hip-hop started in the Bronx in the 70s, small little movement, roots in Jamaican dance club culture. From there, the shit evolved. In the 80s, it was more of a party scene. Who can rock the mic the best? Who can rock the crowd the best, right? Then towards the mid 80s, late 80s, that's when the West Coast came into it. That's when the gangster rap element was created. That's when it went to the gangster culture. That's when rap started really talking about the realities of being in the inner city, in the ghetto, in the streets. And this kind of evolved hip hop into the state that it's in now. Now you had periods of peaceful, more protest type hip hop, Public Enemy, A Tribe Called Quest, shit like that. But it really, nowadays, we have a lot of gangster rap, and a lot of the rappers talk about the shit that's going on in the streets right now. So that started with Ice-T, the NWAs of the world. Like, that's where that shit really came from. So we fast forward all the way to 2022, and we got the likes of Lil Durk and 42 Doug and NBA Youngboy and all these other motherfuckers who are the new gangster rappers who rap about what they lived in the streets and shit. And this is where the cops come in, and this is why they've targeted hip hop so much, more so than any other genre of music, because of the content and how violent the content can be sometimes. So with that being said, let's talk about the opposition, the cops. Johnny Law, 12, One Time, the Popo, the police, them people, whatever the fuck you want to call them, that's who we talking about right now. So cops have always targeted hip-hop artists, again, because of the content of the music, right? If you're talking about selling dope, selling drugs, shooting niggas, killing niggas, like that's going to perk up the ears of law enforcement. And rightfully so. Their job is to enforce the law. If you're on record saying you used to break the law or you're still breaking the law, niggas might look at you weirdly. Niggas might look at you crazy from that side of it. Regardless if it's artistic or not, their job, supposedly, is to stop shit like that. And if you're perpetuating that, and you're saying that, they're going to go into it and they're going to look into the shit. That's just how it is. Also, cops got a hard on for rappers because more often than not, hip hop artists often discuss the relationship between our communities, the police, in their music, in their content, in their art. And let's be honest with each other. The relationship between the cops and minority communities in this country is less than stellar. We don't fuck with cops, and in certain instances, maybe we should. And the cops don't fuck with us, not like they should, according to the letter of their responsibilities and upholding the law. But it is what it is at this point. So when rappers like Kendrick, and Kanye, and Cudi, even Lil Baby made a song a couple of years ago during the pandemic, during the protest for George Floyd, where he talked about police brutality and the relationship between our communities and the cops. When they make songs like that and that shit blow up, yeah, the cops gonna be fucked up. They're gonna be a little mad. They're gonna be a little disturbed about it. I mean, I don't give a fuck if they're disturbed about it, but that's what happens. They get upset about songs that are being made like that. And this is the situation that happens. Cops start targeting those hip hop artists. Here's the subtle irony in it. The artists, the hip hop artists that are talking about the issues that our communities have with law enforcement, they're already outside of the community. So it makes the cops even more angry with those artists because it's like they realize that they're not in the community anymore. So they just become more of a target. It's like a catch-22 almost. Like, you shouldn't be talking about this shit anymore because you're not even in the community. But it's like, if they're from the community, if they're using their voice and their platform properly, they should still always speak up for the oppressed. So it's just created a fucking a weird juxtaposition where the cops always target the hip hop artists. It doesn't even matter if a rock artist or a bluegrass artist or a country music artist or a fucking EDM artist creates a song that talks about police brutality. They much rather target the hip hop artists, which is biased. That's why the legislation is being made in the first place. So, but I have to say, although I do understand the ideals and the ideology of the legislation, there is a clear hypocrisy with trying to create this legislation, and I'm gonna point that out right now. Hey, if you like this content so far, man, if you like any of the content on our channels, man, please hit the like button on this video, man. Comment on this video. Tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing wrong so we can make the videos better. Also, subscribe to our channel, man. We need the subscriptions, man. We would appreciate the subscriptions. Also, share this video with any and everybody, man. Put this on your Facebook page, on your IG page, whatever. Share this video, man. We appreciate it. We love y'all. Thank you. Now back to the video. All right, so let's get into this legislation real quick.
Okay, let's go. Come on.
New York Senators Brad Hoylman and Jamal Bailey introduced a bill titled Rap Music on Trial that would protect defendants against racial bias and allow hip-hop artists creative expression. So, again, the ideology of it, I agree. Because, again, if you got a hip-hop artist and he just rapping about some shit, it doesn't necessarily mean the nigga is living that life. That doesn't mean that they're living those circumstances. Obviously, you have someone like Jay-Z backing the bill. Jay-Z not out here selling drugs. He's a billionaire. He owns all kind of fucking property and like he's not out here selling drugs. You know what I'm saying? When he's on record, he's talking about his actual legal businesses, man. He's not talking about the shit he was talking about 20 years ago when he first started out. And to use shit he was talking about 20 years ago against him in court now would be erroneous. Like, so I understand the ideology of the bill, and I agree with them on the ideological levels of what this bill is trying to do and why they're introducing the bill. Fat Joe recently told Rolling Stone, "Our lyrics are a creative form of self-expression and entertainment, just like any other genre. We want our words to be recognized as art rather than being weaponized to get convictions in court. I hope the governor and all the lawmakers in New York take our letter into consideration protect our artistic rights, and make the right decision to pass this bill. And again, on an ideological level, he is right. Theoretically, that's what should happen. Like, no one's art should be used against them unless that art specifically and directly hurts or harms or puts someone in harm's way. That's it. Outside of that, it should just be whatever. It's a First Amendment right. That's all it is, bro. Like, if I said I'm out here selling drugs 5 o'clock in the morning on a corner, pushing dimes, I got nicks all the time. Like, I'm just saying this shit. It's not, there's no data. There's no prior behavior. There's nothing before me saying that would give you probable cause to even look into it. It's just me saying shit. No one's going after actors in movies for acting out villainous roles like mob bosses and other gangsters and other violent figures. It's just acting, bro. Like, that's what they're trying to say. It's just entertainment. That is it. That's all it is. And again, on a theoretical level, I do agree with that. Another reason why this bill is being introduced is because, again, law enforcement, the legal system, judges, district attorneys, prosecutors, they always exacerbate these type of things when it comes to lyrics from hip hop artists. Take, for example, NWA. NWA's Fuck the Police is a song about frustrations with the mostly negative interactions between the police and the citizens in the cities. But politicians changed the narrative to be about violence and disobedience towards authority figures. That's the shit we talking about. If you listen to the song, they're actually talking about the relationship between cops and black and brown people in this country. But politicians use that shit and flip the narrative to create the rhetoric that was, look at these young thugs and hooligans, they don't care about authority figures. That's why that rhetoric became what it was. And that's why that song, when you talk to law enforcement, when you talk to politicians, when you talk to anyone who works in the justice system, that's why they have that rhetoric. Body Count, a heavy metal group co-founded by gangster rap pioneer Ice-T, made a song called Cop Killer. And even though this song is distinctively heavy metal, it has forever been linked to hip hop and Ice-T due to the rhetoric from politicians trying to get reelected in 1992. So when this song came out, again, it's not Ice-T's Cop Killer, it's Body Count's Cop Killer. Just to be very clear with you, it is a fucking heavy metal group. But this song, because of the content of the song and who was the MC on the song, is now forever linked to hip hop and Ice-T because, you guessed it, rhetoric of violence and they want to kill cops and all this other dumb shit, when that's not technically what the song, the song is called Cop Killer. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat the motherfucking song, but it ain't really about going out there and just having everybody fucking kill cops. That's not what the song is about. Meek Mill, one of the artists in this group helping to push the legislation, had his music used against him just so the judge can give him more time in prison. This has been famously documented by Meek Mill. In fact, there's a whole documentary on Amazon about Meek Mill and his trials and tribulations as he was fighting his way out of the court system from 2012 to 2018, 2019. So go check that out. It's on Amazon. I forget the whole name of it, but obviously if you see Meek Mill, you'll see picture of the dirty braid Meek Mill, you'll see it on there. You know what the fuck it is. And yeah, the judge in Philly was trying to use his music against him to try to, give him more time in prison, or to, like, if he violated parole, it was for something so fucking stupid, didn't make sense. And she was using his career and, rhetoric he says in his songs, his lyrics, his artistic creativity against him in court. So It's a track record of this shit for decades now. And again, I understand why the bill is being introduced, and I understand it on a theoretical level. But here's where I'm torn. This is why I said this whole subject has torn me both ways. It's because when niggas rap about shit and then it actually happens, you can't ignore stupid shit like that. You can't ignore, like, for example, okay, look at Chicago. Look at Philly. I live in Jacksonville right now. There's a fucking gang war going on down here that has taken the lives of several people over a long span of time, bro. And the rappers involved in these gangs and these fucking gang wars, they rap about the fucking murders in their songs. The new age rappers are so disrespectful nowadays that they often bring up the quote unquote dead ops' name in the songs. And they say they smoking on them when they're referring to smoking on a blunt or whatever. They'll say they're smoking on whoever the dead person's name is that they just murdered. Famous example, kids from Chicago, man. I'm smoking on Tuka. I'm smoking on Duck. That shit spread so that type of disrespect spread so much that now everybody's using that shit. Even the kids in Jacksonville. Young and Ace, Jacksonville rapper, created an entire song called Who I Smoke. And the chorus literally is, who I smoke, smoke baby, who I smoke. It is the names of every person that was killed from the rival gang. This is where hip hop is now. So for rappers to get behind a bill, to try to pass a bill that would almost certainly set a precedent anywhere else, because this is New York we're talking about. So if it's cool in New York, it's more than likely going to set a precedent anywhere else where you can say shit like that and that shit can't be used against you in court. That's crazy. King Von is a prime example of this type of situation, right? So him and a lot of his cohorts from O Block allegedly were involved with the murder of FBG Duck. A lot of them are incarcerated right now because of that murder, because they're being charged with that murder. That's the shit I'm talking about. They were rapping about that shit on their records, on their music. They were saying that shit. I'm smoking on Duck right now. And now those same people who started that rhetoric, I'm smoking on Duck, are now incarcerated and being charged with FBG Duck's murder. For the rappers who are trying to push or help push this legislation, do you think the mothers of those slain people, of those dead soldiers, those young brothers who've been murdered by a rival gang, do you think their mothers would appreciate a legislation like this that would almost halt and almost surely get the people who may or may not have committed those crimes a get out of jail free card, basically? If they're online saying this shit, if they're on records saying what they did or alluding to what they did, then at some point it should, especially if you're talking about gang violence, it should be used. It should be, right? We're trying to solve a murder. And maybe as a civilian, maybe I don't know like the ins and outs of this shit or whatever like that. But being in the community, being a part of the community, having children and a family in the community, I'm saying if niggas out here, and I let's be clear, I don't think it's self-snitching at this point. I think back in the day it was self-snitching. I think the young niggas today are so far gone that they don't think that this is self-snitching when they say shit like this on records. I think they have been brainwashed to think this shit is normal. So me saying it on a record doesn't mean anything. I already think I'm not going to live past a certain age, whether that be I'm incarcerated or I'm in a fucking grave anyway. So me saying this shit on wax don't really matter. This is the shit I'm talking about. This is why I can't fully get behind it, because if niggas are out here being rappers but also fucking serial killers, then you gotta use the evidence that you've been given. I'm sorry, but that's how it is. So what do we do, right? If we got rappers from King Von and all his motherfucking guys from O Block to Ace, a Youngin Ace and KSO and all the dudes from ATK to Julio Fulio and all the other motherfuckers from KTA in Jacksonville. You got all these people nowadays, NBA Youngboy and Pooh Shiesty, all these niggas rapping about the shit that they actually did in the streets, which is fucking violent crimes and murders, allegedly. How do we fix the situation where a bill like the hip hop on trial bill can be passed and it hold weight? Well, let's think about maybe not rapping about shit that is illegal. And before niggas start saying, man, that shit, man, nobody want to listen to that fuck ass music. Listen, this shit's been selling. It's been selling for a long time. Missy Elliott, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, like the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Big Crit, Tyler the Creator. Like there's so many dope artists that you can listen to who don't promote violence, who don't talk about shooting and killing people in the streets, who actually haven't done any of that shit. And then jump on wax and talk about their murders. You can listen to music, you can listen to hip hop and it be, clean. It doesn't have to be about the visceral realities of living in the ghetto. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be violent music. That's the point I'm trying to make. The bill is a double-bladed sword, okay? On one end, I understand, I get it. We shouldn't allow the legal system to discriminate against hip-hop music and its artists simply because of the content they're creating and the shit that they're saying on their records. Like, we shouldn't allow a legal system to create whole divisions in law enforcement to target specifically hip-hop artists. But at the same time, we do need the hip-hop artists to start being a little more accountable for what they're saying on the record. Like if you're talking about violent shit, that is probably going to be a dog whistle to the motherfucking cops to come and look at your shit. If you're not living like that, if that's not what you're doing, be creative in another way. You can still tell a story and have creative freedoms without saying I sell drugs when you live in fucking Calabasas. Like, stop. Like, that's the point I'm trying to make. There's work that needs to be done on both sides. You know what I mean? Like, do I think the bill's going to pass? I don't think it's going to pass. I think the shit's going to go to the Senate and they're going to look at this shit and be like, trash it. We don't give a fuck about them niggas anyway. Like, that's what I think is going to happen. But I do think the bill should be given more thought and more time on the floor. And should it pass? Again, it depends, man. Let's try to fix up and clean up some of the fucking rhetoric in the hip hop community as it stands now. Then give this bill another thought and try to reintroduce this shit again. Because as it stands right now, they're probably going to use that O Block shit. They're probably going to use this shit down here in Jacksonville, the ATK versus KTA shit, as points to say, no, we need this. We need to be able to use these artists' words and their music in court because they are literally laying out situations that happen in the streets where people were murdered. So that's all I'm saying. It's just one of those things, man. I am actually torn. I don't know what else to say. Thank you so much for watching this video, man. We appreciate y'all. Again, tune into the podcast. We are on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Pandora, anywhere where you want to get your podcast fixed. Just look up at the 224 Podcast. Also, man, follow us on our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, we're on TikTok, we're on Twitter, we're on IG. Make sure y'all subscribe to this video, to this channel. Make sure y'all like this video. Make sure y'all comment on the video, man. Make sure y'all share the video. Again, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. See y'all later. Peace out.